Welcome to Gray to Great, the podcast where we will pull back the curtain on what it truly takes to thrive as a corporate retirement plan advisor in today's tech-powered business world. I'm Degan, but all my friends call me Triple D. As a former sales leader and CEO and now board member of the parent holding company of the Great Gray Trust Company, I know that success in this field goes beyond the numbers. In each episode, I'm going to team up with one of your peer retirement plan advisors to bring you the strategies that separate the best from the rest. From prospecting and referral business to challenger selling and tech adoption, we're diving deep into the parts of the business that too many of us overlook. Whether you're here to sharpen your skills or if you're looking for the next big idea, this is where the playbook gets rewritten. So get ready for sharp, actionable insights that'll take your practice to the next level. Because in sales, there's no gray area. Hello, welcome to our podcast guests. I'm Degan, our host, and I'm joined today by Burak Alpaslan, who's the founder and director of the Vital Planning Group, retirement plan advisor that's active in the network here with Great Gray. And I'm delighted to have this conversation with you, Burak, because not only are our listeners going to get enlightened with your playbooks that you have exercised for, and how long has it been now that you've been running Vital Planning Group? I think over 15 years, is that right?
20 years in the business and 16 years with Vital Planning Group. Yeah.
I love it. Great. And as we prep for this, you shared some stories that I think are going to be really actionable for our audience. But before we get to that, I'd love to talk about background, because you are an athlete and a music lover like me. And I'd love to hear your riff on that, because there's some parallels, and I believe how you run your professional and personal lives.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Burak Alpaslan. I'm a certified financial planner, accredited investment fiduciary, and certified 401k professional. As you mentioned, a couple decades in the business, I have had quite a bit of a journey, and thank you for taking the time to asking me questions about it. Never thought it would be interesting, but here we are. You wanted to know about background or what makes me unique or anything of that nature, right?
That's right. We chatted earlier in preparation for this. You mentioned your fitness regimen, your focus on health and diet and exercise. And I was inspired by it as well, because as we got into also talking about our shared love for music, I saw some parallels in how you organize and administer your business life as well.
Absolutely. Well, I'm very envious, as I mentioned to you the first time, of the guitars that are hanging on your wall. So growing up, again, I guess as a Gen Xer, I was a metalhead. And over a period of time, when I realized that our success in life as human beings is directly measured with our success is our attention to pay ourselves, our daily being, and our overall well-being. I developed a knack for training for Ironman triathlons. So in my free time, I swim, bike, and run. And about 7 years ago, I decided to completely keep the animals off my plate, and chose a vegan lifestyle. And of course, one thing supported the other. It really just helped me recover overall. And my only regret is I have not done it sooner.
Well, that's great. That's a sign of a good decision. Anything you've changed in your life that you look back on and say, I wish I did it sooner, that's great validation.
Absolutely.
So speaking of, great music, you and I shared some details about some of the bands that we love, that we followed over the years, and even our flirtation with, being performers as well, which to me is just an extension of being a fan. There's real parallels to building a business, and in particular, building your brand. We were talking about some of the brands of the big, most popular metal bands in the history of the music industry. And as you build a brand, I'd love to hear the story of how you built Vital Planning Group, not just the brand and how you built that reputation with your clients, but also the internal culture with the team that you've assembled.
Absolutely. Well, it's like a nice segue from the music universe. Obviously, the genre that we both passionately followed were, I guess, heavy metal and hard rock. Both of us visited Cleveland Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And really, these brands emerge over a period of time. One common theme emerges: consistency. So coming into financial services, I wanted to gather a group of friends and colleagues, like-minded individuals, to deliver high-quality value in terms of giving advice. And the name Vital Pinning Group came out into existence out of necessity to highlight the importance of financial literacy, because we work very similar to a physician in that sense. To a degree that we had a lot of physician clients, and it kind of like dawned on me that our approach is no different than a physician, if you will, because physicians are predominantly interested in physical well-being of their patients, whereas as financial planners, we're interested in our clients' physical well-being. As such, one of our clients even told us, "Oh, you guys are financial doctors." I'm like, I don't know if we would necessarily call ourselves that yet, but certainly there are parallels.
With the difference, you just don't keep your clients waiting like doctors do in the lobby, right?
Well, our schedule fills up very fast because, as you alluded to, the fact that we do give advice, even retirement plan participants. So companies, when we are advising their retirement plans, have the ability to get their participants schedule one-on-one meetings with us. So imagine we have thousands or tens of thousands of people, and every single person has the ability to get on our agenda at one point. So our calendar books up very fast, 15 minutes at a time.
Right.
So in that sense, it's no different than a doctor's office, but at least we have enough coverage and enough professionals to get around to addressing people's concerns related to their money.
That's right. And another parallel there with the field of medicine is the notion of providing some educational basis for your clients or patients, the other example, to understand what you're recommending and why, and to get your client comfortable with the strategy that you're advocating. Sometimes it involves introducing them to new vocabulary, new concepts that they don't feel educated on. And when we talked earlier, I've noticed this also in the business I grew up in, software, that if you can help your customers, your clients, feel educated and demystify the nomenclature and even make it feel a bit more welcoming for them so they're comfortable in the conversation, that's a great way. It's a great path I found to building that trust and long-term relationships. I'd love to hear your journey with that dynamic.
I'll mention a visit to the cardiologist's office with my father, with my late father. As being the top person in his field for a complex open heart surgery, he was able to break it down to the simplest detail and explain it to me and to my father, who are not really medically well versed, the operation he was going to put my father through under 15 minutes. It was remarkable. Drawing a parallel, our ability to explain complex concepts in very layman's terms to people really resonates and sets us apart. And what I really picked up on over the many years of doing this, the more you are able to explain in plain English, the more people get it and the more people feel confident about what they're about to do. Anything that involves somebody's money, their lifelong savings, their retirement nest egg, that's all they have. So it's a big decision. I'm not suggesting as important as going into a surgery, because right before a surgery, the patient has two questions. Have you done this before? And most importantly, out of the people you operated on, how many of them lived? They really don't care about what surgical blade you're going to use, what gases are you going to mix before a surgery. As such, it is imperative for people to understand, have you done this before? Have you retired people successfully? How many people do you have in retirement? Have you helped us run our plan effectively before? What is their experience in terms of helping plan sponsors with education and guidance that is so crucial from their retirement plan participants so that they can wrap their heads around the concept of retirement. Because remember, you cannot fire somebody because of old age. It's illegal. But if a executive who is more senior decides to retire on their own accord and says, you know what, I had enough. I really would like to move on, spend more time with my family. His employer can hire a junior to that position at a fraction of the cost and save a ton of money. And also giving education and guidance resources so they can really just feel comfortable about retirement is more crucial than ever. Because right now, unfortunately, we have wars on TV taking place. Inflation is poised or perhaps could make a comeback in the current climate. And unfortunately, people are more concerned about their money more than ever.
That's
so
right.
that really just puts us in a position we don't take what we do lightly.
Yes, and that's a great segue into another topic I'd love to hear you opine on as well, Burak, which is as you establish that trust with a client. And I love the parallels to the world of medicine because there's so many similarities in the journey for someone who doesn't understand necessarily the nomenclature, the upside, the risks, etc. And if you can get educated by somebody that is a trusted advisor, that's probably somebody you're going to stick with for a prolonged period of time. So I'd love to hear what has been your experience with and what is your strategy and playbook around not just finding clients when you're prospecting, but client retention over time.
I would say, I guess what sets us apart in order to attract, retain, and really do great things for our clients, financial rewards that follow, is education for first and foremost. So my late mom is a retired English teacher, was a retired English teacher. So growing up, when he was tutoring people at our kitchen table on the weekends, really kind of like must have rubbed off on me. I have a passion for teaching, and the best way my mom put that was teaching something is helping people connect the dots between a concept they know and a concept they don't know yet. If you can connect those dots, and have them relate to the things that they already know,
Right.
they will learn at a faster pace. And of course, using stories, analogies, experiences we have had with our existing clients over decades of doing this. Twice the penetration, half the time is a good way to put it.
Can you expand on that? I love that metaphor.
Yeah, so really just teaching is best done using stories and examples. So if you can find the story, the best story I can tell you, or the analogy I can tell you, is typically people ask us, well, you know what? Technology has evolved. Now everything is at our fingertips. We got AI. We can go on Google, or we can ask ChatGPT for answers to almost any question, right? So why should I hire an advisor? The best way I can put it to you in this experience is that imagine you got two planes. The first plane is very sophisticated, top of the line Cessna. And you got avionics, flight navigation system, electronics, all decked up, top of the line. But you are the pilot. So second plane is identical as the first one. The only difference comes with that pilot with 20 years of experience. Now, picture this. You're about to go on a journey with your family. It's a tropical island, and you're expected to take one of these two planes. And you don't know what the weather is going to be like, if there's going to be severe winds and thunderstorms and tropical weather. Hello? So as such, if you don't know how to navigate get that plane off the ground, land it safely, and you don't know how to go around potential adverse weather. You tell me, Dan, which plane would you feel comfortable putting your family on?
Yes.
That's the example of why somebody should hire an advisor.
Yes.
Pilot in this case is the advisor.
That's a great analogy. Clearly, I'll take the 20-year successful veteran. I was also thinking your premise here could be a basis for a reality TV show. I would tune into that. No, that's
You're too
fascinating.
kind.
I love the analogy, and you're right. It is so powerful to reframe a conversation for a client in any field in which they might feel like they're not on firm footing with their understanding of that domain. To use analogies that relate to their world, whether their professional world or our lives as consumers. And as you're doing that, it occurs to me, Burak, it's not just a vital tool for client retention, but it's also a necessity for pulling fresh clients into the top of our funnel, if you will, that metaphoric funnel of opportunities of new clients that we cultivate over time. And hopefully it's that circle of life where they continue cycling through long-term relationships. So I'd love for you to share with our listeners as well, what have been your lessons learned and the successes that you've had that you've learned from in the playbooks around identifying and prospecting for clients at the early stage of that journey?
Yeah, so originally, as I'm a Turkish American, I connected with a lot of Turkish American businessmen. I was able to speak the language figuratively and literally. As a result, lots of, we call it in Turkish, abi, the older brother. Lots of people really just helping out me getting established initially. But at a very early stage, I was able to pick a specialty, and the area of retirement and specifically retirement plans really resonated well with me. As you can imagine, from a business perspective, we are at a point right now, after World War II, any company that was manufacturing baby foods, you had the baby boomers, right? Did really well. So in the 60s, 70s, any company that had done jeans and youth wear, sneakers, jeans, whatever you can think of, did really well because it was a booming generation of young people that appeals to their needs.
Yep.
Now, fast forward to these days, 20 years ago, right? Just late 90s, baby boomers are approaching retirement, and suddenly the same demographic needed good advice in order to keep more of what they earn. And in addition to that, make it last for the rest of their lives. So as a result, light bulb moment. So this is an area that is growing rapidly. I felt that I have the ability to connect and convey my opinion, my experience, and very genuinely whatever that I could actually consume and digest and articulate. And that's why I identified financial services. And as far as the retirement plans go, as a background, I'm an engineer, civil engineer. So picked up on the complexities of the retirement plans. They are very tricky. It requires a keen eye and a lot of attention to details. So coming from an engineering background, learning with that kind of background on how to solve complex problems, retirement plans and the ERISA domain really just resonated really well with me. And I was lucky to have early mentors in my career, which really just opened doors for me. So I was able to earn while I learned, and then accordingly, pretty much realize that no man is an island, and I found great people. Now I call them brothers that actually partnered up with me and really just they work day in, day out with me on our business. Really just pretty much the makings of the origin story, if it makes sense.
It does. And I love the reference point you made too being, did I get it right? It's an hobby, is a term of endearment in
Correct.
Turkish language. Yeah. So if I was in
Term of
Istanbul,
endearment for an older brother who really takes you under their wings.
I love it.
Absolutely.
That's great. Um, that reference to your culture and that term of endearment, I imagine also plays into your role, not just with your clients, but as a leader of Vital Planning Group. Tell me a bit more about the culture. That sounds like a fascinating culture that you've built that is very sticky, that you've had some employees with you for a long time. And although a relatively small team, sounds like highly productive. I'd love to hear how you've built that culture and how you look at that.
This way I can tell you is it takes a village, is the best way to put this. Because where we are today, it is never a single person's success. We built our name and our brand together with my colleagues, Edward, Ilias, Dorlis, Alex, Sona. I mean, list goes on and on. So we are 10 people, but we started out with my good friend Edward at a training class because our last names are very close to each other, spent an entire week and figured out that we have something actually really could not only turn into a decades old friendship, but also a common passion in terms of genuinely helping people and educating them. So he was already passionate about working with physicians in the medical field. I was passionate with working with business owners. So when we had Ilias join us, and when we actually went about with the purest intentions of building a brand larger than ourselves, Vital Planning Group was born. So as such, I mentioned about the name, and what really just drove us or connected us was discovered by hiring a consultant and spending some quality time with them. Out came 5 important values for Vital Planning Group, and they are health, family, integrity, growth mindset, and helping others. Now, out of 120 somewhat values and important concepts, these 5 came out and became our own values. And when after we did this exercise, maybe over a decade ago, each and every time we hire a new member, we ask them the key question: do your personal beliefs and values resonate with these 5? And sooner or later it comes out if they don't. And if it doesn't, they are not a right fit to be working with us, because we are very passionate about this. So our culture, in a sense, is really almost like a family work culture. So we have our family at home, and we have our family in the workspace. So because we are a small group, we are very well connected, and we have empathy and a ton of love and respect towards each other, and that keeps us motivated on a daily basis. Is this helpful?
That's very helpful. And I love the principles that you lay out, because probably the best way to gauge whether there's fit for a potential candidate you're talking with from their point of view and yours is to share what are your values, not just what's the vision for the company, but how do you keep score on success over time, not just in terms of financial success, but personal acquisition, the personal experience that you're going to have, and what you're going to draw out of that, educationally, even spiritually, with these friendships and these long-standing professional alliances that you build. So to that end, I'd love to hear your perspective, Burak. If we had the ability to go back in time and you could counsel your 25-year-old self in the early stages of your career on how to navigate, or for that matter, any other young new participant in this industry segment as a retirement plan advisor, what would be the foundational elements you'd want to give them insight on?
Most important thing any young individual can do is, number one, and I cannot emphasize this enough, find a mentor. Decide on what you are good at, what you are passionate, you love, and what you can get paid well. And look for one who has done all of those three and say 10 or 20 years ahead of you. And ask them if you can shadow them, fetch their coffee, or stay in their office or be a fly on their wall. By the way, the importance of mentors, I cannot emphasize this enough, helped me a great deal. When I was 25, to your point, I was in Citibank, Switzerland. I was working on global corporate and investment bank, and I had a phenomenal mentor who took a liking in me and said, you know what? You should be in the United States. You have the right demeanor, right passion, and the right, what was the word he used? Entrepreneurial mindset, that you will make the most out of your life in the United States. Because through my travels, settling in Singapore, London, or New York were all options. And he said, no, you should be in New York, and you should be in New York metro area. Absolutely. So, and second thing, in addition to the mentor, is look inwards and learn about your character traits. Don't fight it, but make small changes on a daily basis. So develop a daily routine as early as possible. So people usually overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but they almost always underestimate what they can do in 2 years if they take daily action. And the third one is read, read, read.
I love ending with that one. Clearly the son of an English teacher, no doubt, right? Yeah.
And remember this, I'll part with this as maybe one of last sentences, is that knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. Applied knowledge is real power.
That's beautiful. What better punctuation for this discussion and the insights you've shared with us. Burak, I am grateful for you generously sharing your time and your talents and your experiences with us.
It's
I
my
know
pleasure
that,
and privilege. Thank you.
well, thank you. I know the listeners are going to get a lot out of this, and not just, professionally, but personally as well. So everybody tune in for our next episode of Gray to Great. And I want to thank Burak Alpaslan for joining us, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to Gray to Great. I hope you're walking away with a few new ideas, a few bold strategies, and a bit more fuel to take your business further than ever. If you found today's conversation valuable, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with a colleague. The best way to stay sharp is to keep learning together. So I'll see you next time right here, where we will cut through the noise to bring you what really matters. Until then, keep pushing forward, because there's no gray area in achieving success.